$1,000,000 anywhere in public, and you could eat like a millionaire at least once in a while with a decent credit line on your gold card. But you couldn't fake it in your home. A home was your skin, your true face to the outside world. Surveying it all from the roof of the Met, Lucinda didn't care who chose to talk to her, because she knew she held the keys to the kingdom. Chapter 1. "It's time to sell," Peggy Gimmel announced to her husband Monroe at the kitchen table on the second Tuesday morning in May. "Not in this market," he said without looking up from the stock tables in the Times. "We're about to hit bottom. This is a buying opportunity." "The apartment, Monroe," she said with slow emphasis. "It's time to sell the apartment." He grunted and slowly moved the magnifying glass down the column of stock prices. Luckily, their kitchen faced the sunless courtyard, or he'd start a fire. Monroe was obsessed with the stock market. All the financial experts on cable talked about needing a long-term outlook to make money in the market. But what kind of long-term outlook could a man of 82 have? "Listen, at my age, I don't buy green bananas." How many times a week did she hear that line at the bridge table or supermarket? Now Monroe was buying stocks in companies with unpronounceable names stuffed with X's and Z's, companies that could use a few more vowels, in Peggy's opinion. Who knew what these outfits did for a living other than take investors' hard-earned money? True, for a few years there he was actually making money, on paper, of course. God forbid he should sell anything. There was no talking to him, really. He was so full of himself and his fancy investing skills. "I made more this week from Z-Link than I made in a year selling blouses," he'd say. What the hell was Z-Link, she wanted to ask, and what's with that Q anyway? Then the markets turned sour, and so did Monroe. He rarely spoke anymore, and when he did, he sounded angry and resentful. All day he watched the stock prices march across the bottom of the TV screen as if it were an EKG reading. His EKG. "Sonia at the Bridge Club thinks we could get $950. He didn't react. What was $1 million to a Wall Street macher like Monroe? But $950,000 was exactly $925,000 more than they'd paid 36 years earlier when the apartment went co-op. Back then, everyone told them they were crazy to buy an apartment in Manhattan. "A piece of paper, that's what you'll own," they told her. "Co-op, schmo-op, get yourself a real house with some ground if you want to throw your money away on real estate." But it was buy or move out. An eviction plan, they called it. The term nearly gave her a coronary, even back then when she was young, well, younger. So they borrowed from Peggy's brother and took the plunge. Oh, how she wished she could tell those people what the place was worth now. Monroe's parents, the Fishmans who had rented next door but moved to Bayside rather than throw their money away on a piece of paper. Her friend Frida Brand, who thought the whole world was out to swindle her and every other Jew on the planet. Even her brother, who lent her the money after hawking her to China about what a mistake they were making. But they were all gone, them and half the people she knew. It was like crossing the finish line of some long, exhausting race, then turning around ready for the applause, only to find that all the contestants and all the spectators had already left the field. Old age isn't for wimps. Who was the genius who said that? "Lily recommended the broker she used to buy her place," she told Monroe. Still no reaction. Their daughter's apartment on Park Avenue was roughly 3 times the size of their place, but Lily said the broker she'd used wouldn't mind. Her actual words, "wouldn't mind." Some world when people wouldn't mind collecting the commission on $1 million. Then again, Lily's husband Barnett probably earned that much in one day on Wall Street. Who needs 3 bedrooms anyway? When was the last time we had overnight visitors? The grandchildren never spent the night, probably thought you needed a passport to come to the West Side, or shots. We'll buy a smaller place, or we'll rent. Monroe had put down the magnifying glass and picked up a pen. He circled something, his hand trembling as it always did. He'd probably circle the wrong stock, she thought, and maybe then they'd make some money. We'll invest the difference, she said to get his attention. Invest? He glanced at her. His blue eyes had faded in the 52 years they'd been married, but they were still the youngest thing about him, like the sequins on that Anne Klein II cocktail dress she'd paid a fortune for that still glittered like diamonds every time she opened her closet, even though the dress itself was faded and limp. His eyes still glittered like diamonds, at least for her. In Treasury bonds, Monroe, think of the income. He frowned and turned back to his portfolio. She'd call the real estate broker at 9:30. She certainly didn't need Monroe's permission for something as unimportant as selling their home. Peggy smiled and got up for a second cup of decaf. Sometimes she wanted to tell Lily not to worry so much about what Barnett did or said. She was a strong, intelligent woman who danced around him like a geisha. Maybe she was grateful for the big apartment and the trainer and the drapes in the living room that cost $750 a yard. Just don't overdo the gratitude, she wanted to say. Just wait until you're both old like us. Then you'll see that the women always get the upper hand in the end. And it's worth the wait, getting last licks in life. They get terrified you'll die before them, these husbands. That's why, when the wife goes first, they either remarry in a hurry or drop dead in 6 months. But her women friends, when their husbands went, they threw a nice funeral at Riverside Chapel, settled the estate lickety-split, and then hit the road. Package tours to Europe first to get their feet wet, then Asia and Africa, and even the Galapagos, for God's sake, with bridge games and theater subscriptions and concerts at Lincoln Center to keep them occupied between cab rides to JFK. Relax, she wished she could tell Lily. Relax and wait. But the last thing her daughter wanted from her was advice. She sat down with her coffee, took the phone from its cradle, and dialed her daughter's number. Lily Grantham heard the phone ring from the bathroom where she was toweling off after her morning shower. Barnett had long since left for his office downtown. "Let it ring," she shouted. But her voice died somewhere in the long hallway that connected the master bedroom suite to the 9 other rooms in the apartment. After 2 rings, someone picked up. "I'm not here," she shouted, again futilely. Only one person ever called her before 9 o'clock. Awaiting the inevitable summons to the phone, she tossed the wet towel in a corner and began her daily appraisal before the mirror. Face? Almost wrinkle-free, thanks to a bit of work around the eyes. Her high forehead had always been smooth. Breasts? She wouldn't pass the pencil test, but they hadn't hit her navel yet, and in the right bra they still looked great. Tummy? Flat, as well it should be, thanks to the tightly regulated diet prescribed by her nutritionist, Laurie Lachant, and the 8 million sit-ups a day with Darcy, her trainer, who'd lately added a dash of sadism to her regimen by hurling a medicine ball at her abdomen mid-sit-up. Legs, long as ever, incipient saddlebags taken care of by Dr. Nabaladan last year. The battle won another day, she thought, with the usual surge of anxious relief. "Mrs. Grantham, it's your mother." Nanny's nasally British voice had no trouble finding its way through the bedroom and into her bathroom. "Tell her I'll be right there. I'll finish up the children's breakfast," Nanny said unnecessarily. She never missed an opportunity to remind Lily that she handled most of the child-related chores on the 9th floor at 913 Park Avenue. She slipped on a white